Okay, we're going to get started, and as people filter in, we're just going to get going because I have way more to share with you than I have time. So we're going to take off here. It was a cold, rainy day in Michigan, and I had a disagreement with my husband before he left for work. The floors hadn't been swept in 2 weeks. The fridge was full of Tupperware with undistinguishable leftover food that could make a science teacher proud. The boys, my 4 boys, were all, well, I only had 3 at the time. They were already arguing. It was only 8:30 in the morning. And I had not washed my hair for 3 days, and dry shampoo has its limits of magic, right? So out of frustration with all of the above, and in my moment of insanity, I decided to go to Walmart. Brilliant. Nope, that was stupid. Because when we arrived, I was grumpy, the boys were full of energy, and they looked at the cart, the shopping cart. And Seth, my oldest, said, "That's our ship." So they banished Casey, my third-born son, to the back in the basket that says, "Don't put your child in there." And he was the rudder back by me. Levi said he's the lookout guy, so he climbed in the cart, and he was standing holding the front lookout. And Seth was riding on the side because he's the captain. And as we're going through this grocery store, of course, I had left the house in a hot mess, and so I didn't bring my shopping list. And roaming the aisles with 3 children, 5 and under, it would have been less painful if I would have visited the dentist and had my teeth drilled without Novocaine. Like, it was not good. And the boys were begging for everything, and my frustration was on overload. My patience was completely spent, and I didn't see the post as I was pushing my cart in the next aisle, and when I turned, it clipped the post. And as it clipped the post, it clipped it just enough that Levi, who was standing in the cart, catapulted out on the floor in front of the cart. He starts crying. I grab Casey, put him on my hip. I run around, and I'm down assessing the damage, and I realize right away he was not very hurt, just scared. People aren't used to catapulting out in front of a cart. And the looky-loos are showing up, right? The judgmental looky-loos. And the man in the little blue vest, he comes over, the greeter, and says, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Does it look like I'm okay?" And I was so full of frustration, I just walked away with the Campbell soup can still rolling down the aisle. And I was so upset. And I got in the car. I was frustrated. I was overwhelmed. I was stressed. I felt unappreciated, overlooked, unprepared, ill-equipped. I was just done. And I screamed. And I screamed and I screamed, and then I cried, and because I cried, the children cried, and we were one sobbing, blubbering mess all the way home. I had a van full of weary, wounded souls. This talk is not going to be about heaping guilt and shame on you. Today, as we journey through this talk together, my prayer is that you're going to leave with a sense of empowerment, because you have identified, hopefully through this, some of your triggers. What is that puts you right over the edge? And with that knowledge, I'm hoping you can form a detour. You're not going to be a screamless mom or grandparent when you leave here today, one that never loses her enduring mommy voice. But hopefully, the information I'm going to share, you're going to lose it or be less frustrated, even if you're not a verbal screamer. You're going to be less frustrated tomorrow with the children or grandchildren than you were yesterday. Okay? I'm going to jump right in with the results because I interviewed over 200 women, and I asked them some questions. I'm going to go through the results very quickly because I want to spend a lot of time on practical application because I'm a real nuts and bolts speaker. So I asked these questions. When do you scream, and what are your triggers? Now, I'm going to use the word scream, yelling, but scream means just a long, expressive cry. You can call it what you want, whatever makes you feel better, yelling, losing it, flipping out. It doesn't matter what you call it. We just need to change it. So the first question is, why do you lose it or scream? What are your triggers? The top answers were, I'm most likely to scream when I am stressed, tired, not feeling well, feeling helpless, overwhelmed with demands. Many of us experience these top triggers on a regular basis. I asked, when are you least likely to lose it? When I'm rested, things are calm, children are cooperating, I'm getting things done, or there are other people around. I mean, you usually don't yell at your kids at church, right? Our kids love church because mommy's always, "Hi, oh children," right? And then I said, why do you yell or lose your indoor mommy voice? It gets my children's attention. It gets results. My mother yelled, and it is a habit. It gets predictable results. See, the unknown is scary. Whatever frustrates you and whatever you come back at your child, whether it's the passive-aggressive stomp or the silent treatment or raising your voice, it's a habit, and you know it's going to get results, right? So even though you know it's not healthy, we continue to do that because stepping into the unknown is scary because we don't know what to expect over here. This might be an unhealthy form of communication, but at least we know what to expect. I asked, how does it make you feel? One mother said, I lost control. My 3-year-old doesn't deserve to be yelled at. He is hurt, confused, and I'm feeling guilty. Another one said, I was devastated to find out my children thought I screamed a lot. They take my screaming or losing it way more seriously than I do. They don't understand it's not just a way of getting my point across, but also my way of venting pent-up frustration. Remember we talked about the Sweeper bag this morning? Lots of times it has nothing to do with them, does it? It's all the other issues that's going on in your life. Then I went and interviewed some children. And again, this is not to shame you. I'm getting behind the eyes of some children. The preschooler said, when mommy yells, it makes me feel sad. Grade schooler, I just want to hide when my mom screams or maybe run away. Junior high, I get mad and angry. And this was interesting. I do just the opposite. 16-year-old, my mom yells at me and then she forgets all about it. But the words she uses stick with me for a long time. I said earlier that my sons are 27 through 35. And many of us moms or grandmas, we've had that aha moment. And I'm going to talk about mine. And when I thought, I just need to change the way I'm responding to my children. When Casey was born, my third-born son, I called him my littlest angel because we thought he was the bookend on our family. And 4.5 years later, Brock joined our family. And because it was a term of endearment I had used for 4.5 years, I continued to call Casey my littlest angel. And one particular night, I was up with the baby all night. I was exhausted the next morning. The other boys had went to school, and just Casey was home, and he was outside playing in the yard. I had just put the baby back down for a much-needed nap, and I was going to go rest on the couch myself. And Casey came running in the back door, and he's holding something in his hand, and he's saying, Mommy, Mommy, look what I found. And with that, the baby started crying. See, Casey was inviting me to experience his excitement with him, and I viewed it as an interruption. It messed with my happy, and I lost it. I said, Casey, don't you realize I just put the baby down? I am so tired. And he just turned around and walked back out. And I went back in the nursery and I rocked the baby to sleep. When I came back out into the living room, it was empty. But I was hearing this voice, and I thought, who's in the house? Casey was right in the backyard playing. And I followed the voice, and it was coming from behind the couch. And I hear this voice that said, and I thought I was her littlest angel. It broke my heart. That was the day, as we all have these moments, when I knew something needed to change because I was wounding my children. So I've already discussed the whys, whens, hows of screaming, but why do we continue to lose it? Why is it so difficult to stop? Well, for many of us, it's a comfort zone. Comfort zones aren't necessarily comfortable, they're familiar. And we like familiar, don't we? We stay where it's familiar. But the bold reality is you and I can change. Because what we're doing is not working for us. I was speaking at a 2-day conference, and that first night I stayed up really late visiting with the ladies. And so the next morning at the hotel, I was pretty groggy when I got up. Took a shower, got out of the shower, grabbed my scented roll-on deodorant, put it on, and then I started doing my makeup, and my armpits started feeling warm, then warmer, and then my armpits felt like they were on fire. I grabbed what I thought was my scented roll-on deodorant. I just applied scented icy hot to my armpits. Now, I'm already behind because I had hit the snooze button. So what to do? So I get a rag and I try to rub it off. Well, the moisture just made it soak in first. So then I get a blow dryer and I'm trying to blow dry. Finally, I had to get ready because my ride's going to be out front to pick me up. And I get in her car and she thought I was some sort of crazy because I said, can you turn on your air conditioner? And I had her air conditioner vents blowing up my arms trying to air this out. And I spoke all day long. And at the end of the day, 2 gals came up, they were friends, and hug, thanks for coming, and we had a sweet little conversation, and they're walking away, and I kid you not, one turned to the other and said, she's really nice, but she smells like eucalyptus, is my arm. See, I had grabbed what I thought would get results, right? But I got something vastly different. And that's how it is with our voices raising. We think we're getting results, but we're really getting something very different. So how do you and I become that confident, controlled mother or grandmother who screams less? Well, I'm going to go through as many practical tips as time allows. And a lot of times when I speak, it's like drinking from a fire hydrant, okay? But I want to share as much as I can to you. And I'm going to get as much through before we're done here. So number 1, a controlled mother is one who plans ahead and is organized. She's the master of her day instead of the victim. She's organized and she's the master of the day instead of the victim. Now you type A's just might want to take a nap and we'll wake you up in a little bit because you already are organized, but hopefully you'll still get a few tips from this. I'm going to give you a great illustration. One of our boys had a doctor appointment in the morning. I overslept. I hit the snooze button, and when I got up, I'm already behind before I even get out of bed. I'm already frustrated with myself. So then I wake the boys, and I discovered wet sheets. I didn't plan for a load of laundry. That added a stop to my morning. I had to run down and put those in the wash machine. And then I decided, you know what? The library's right next to the doctor's office. Why don't we stop at the library? And now we're hunting down overdue library books, which caused a distraction from the boys getting ready. Then we need to leave in about 15 minutes, and one of my sons walks through the kitchen still in his underwear because he couldn't decide what to wear. Now I'm running back upstairs to help him pick out clothes. This wasn't in my tight timeline. Then someone spilled the juice. More frustration. Another unplanned cleanup. Then I took a few minutes. I thought, I'm going to be super mom. We lived in the country. I grabbed the sheets out of the washer after it went through quick wash. I ran out and I put them on the clothesline. I come back in. I'm saying, come on, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. And I look out the window, and there runs the family dog with the clothes in his mouth across the yard. And I lost it. See, even animals pick up on mom's stress and draw attention to themselves. Bad press is better than no press, right? I lost it. See, I had set myself up for failure. I was the victim of the day instead of the master. And maybe you haven't had experience just like that, but you can see how I'm tracking with this, right? Non-organization. Now, how could this chaotic morning look different? Well, first of all, if I organized and planned ahead. Determine the night before the plans for tomorrow. All appointments, errands, prepare for them. Bank deposits, library books, grocery lists, sporting equipment, permission slips are all gathered and ready. The night before, have all family members lay out clothes for the next day. You too, Mom, especially if you have daughters, especially if you have teenage daughters. What you lay out, and this is a life lesson, your decisions, many decisions you make as adults, they have to be good still the next day, right? When you teach them what the decision you make tonight on what you're going to wear is still good for tomorrow morning. There's no going back. That's even a life lesson of just making a decision and being consistent with it. So Mom, you lay out your clothes. So that's just one thing that's not going to happen the next day. How many times have we decided, we're going to add a stop, I'm going to go to the library, or I'm going to go get the groceries, and then you're making out a grocery list last minute, or you're trying to find a deposit. Yeah, and have the children put out all shoes, coats, lunch bags, and backpacks by the night, before the night before. This was a game changer for me. This next one, get the entire family up 15 minutes earlier every day. Because this allows emergencies, because they will happen. I still allow 15 minutes, even today. I was speaking at a conference in Michigan just a couple weeks ago, and I was so glad I still allow 15 minutes. Why? Because I got out of the shower that morning at the hotel, didn't have my glasses on, put lotion all over. It was the hotel lotion because I had forgot mine. Suddenly I'm feeling very sticky. I put my glasses on and I looked. I just put conditioner all over my body. So now I have to jump back in the shower, right, and start all over. Can you think about the stress if I hadn't built in time? Build white space into your time. Even if you have to move all the clocks in your home 5 to 10 or 15 minutes sooner, if that's what it takes, do that. See that those things, and then I want to, one more, 5, I don't want to miss this. Resist the urge to add anything to your morning schedule unless you plan for it. So the library books are going to be a few more days late. You probably already owe enough dues you can buy them, right? It's okay. Resist the urge to add something. Those were just a few tweaks I made in my morning routine, and it made a colossal difference and set me up for success instead of failure. It created space for surprises and emergencies. And this is on when you teach your kids to prepare ahead, they're going to take that with them, and your grandkids, and that's going to take them with them to college and beyond. And beyond. Even my grandchildren, I watch them a day and a half a week. And when they come in, this is where the shoes go. This is where the backpack goes. You're teaching them organization, which will stay with them all their life and be a huge blessing to them. Early on, when my children were little, one evening I went to my husband and I was very discouraged. And I felt so overwhelmed. And I talked to my husband. I said, I feel like I'm spinning so many plates. I can't keep everything straight. And he's a wise man. So first he said, do you want to be listened to, or are you looking for a plan of action, right? Do you want to be fixed, or you just want to be listened to? And I said, I want to be fixed, because he's a very type A organized man. It comes very natural to him. It does not to me. And I said, I'm looking for an answer to my very disorganized life. So lovingly, he asked me, where was that day planner he had bought for me a while back? I went and I dusted it off, and I brought it to him. And he looked through it, and he said, well, the last time you wrote in this, all you put was take Seth to preschool. I said, we both know you did far more than that day. Why is it not listed in your planner? He was right. I was overbooking myself on a consistent basis. Get an organizer and get started. When I started writing everything down, I wasn't surprised I was overwhelmed. I should have been. My triggers were being hit like a pinball machine. In just a few days, my head started feeling clearer, and I felt a welcome sense of control in my life, and the victim was been replaced by master, and one that was keeping her indoor mommy voice. I keep a day planner still with me at all times. Every appointment, practice schedule, meeting goes in the book along with the time. If you're working a full-time job and you're coming home and you need to do 2 loads of laundry, run Johnny to soccer practice, come home, make dinner, are you sketching that out for time? Because that all takes time. And so then when your friend calls and says, hey, can you swing by and pick up that casserole dish I left at Susie's because I need it to make something for tomorrow, you can say, no, I can't. Because that's maybe be the one thing, even though it's a good thing to do for your friend, it may be the one thing that finally puts you right over the edge. And you can say, no. My daughter-in-laws, they used to exclusively use their phones for their calendar. And now all 3 of them went back to a paper calendar. They still have their iPhone to use a little bit. But why did they? Because it was giving them a clearer picture of their commitments. Their iPhone was not giving them a clearer picture of their commitments. Just open it up, paper, it shows them. Mom, grandma, most of you, you're the one that takes care of the master schedule in your house. Each one of us knows how much we can have on our schedule before we reach the tipping point. And all of you are different, because we're all different. Some of us can handle more than others. What do you need? You need to sit and ask yourself that. What do I need? Do you need 2 afternoons when there's nothing on the calendar? 3 evenings a week where you're not running kids? Every Saturday morning blocked for 4 hours and it's just nothing? So your kid or grandkid may not be able to participate in karate, hockey, debate club, piano, and the competitive swim team. But you know what? He or she's going to be more balanced because his mama isn't nuts, right? More balance. And I even take this a step further. I look ahead. If my week is getting into the danger zone of overcommitment, I'm going to show you what I brought. I brought it with me and marked my last time. My paper calendar. This was back in April. You see a highlighter right through this? Just any color. This was already here in February, right through the week. It means this week is closed. Do not add one more commitment to this week. Why? Because it could be the final thing that puts me over the edge. Because what happened, I'm going to give you a perfect example. Brock in 8th grade, my youngest, the dentist called. And they're like, hey, we had a cancellation tomorrow at 3:45. Do you want it? And I would look and go, oh, yeah, I don't have anything at 3:45. We'll take it. But when I looked ahead and it said week closed, the receptionist did not know my week is closed. She doesn't care about that. I simply said, I'm sorry. Thank you for reaching out, but that time won't work. And his teeth are not going to rot away in another month or two. But that, if I would have taken that, because there was white space left for those few hours, it could have been what? The thing that totally flipped me over the edge. Because I'm just not running them to the dentist and back. There's all the other stuff that goes with it, right? Now you're late planning for supper. Somebody has to come over and watch the other kids. It's just, it all kind of dominoes. This is a game changer. Plan ahead when you see your week getting full. And again, you have to determine, what do you need? In the back of my table, there's a handout, free. Please take one. Fold it in half, rip my picture, my face off the one side. Because I had my web designer make it so it's just a long strip then. Tape it to your calendar, tape it to your wall. It's 7 questions to ask yourself before adding anything to your calendar. And this is really important right now because as we're opening up after COVID, for months, your calendars were so free, you didn't know what to do with yourself, right? In many ways. It was different. You were still busy, but it looked different. Now, you're being able to add more things. You're getting a fresh start. What do you want it to look like? Ask those 7 questions. And one of them is ask your family how they feel. They have an opinion. They may have an opinion, and you're assuming they want something, and you add it to the schedule, and they don't even want it. So ask your family, but pick that up. Look at those 7 questions. I'm going to move on then. A controlled mother is a woman who strives to keep balance in her life. When you're trying to balance your husband, your children, your grandchildren, your home, and your work, it leads to exhaustion, and you need time for yourself. There was a time in my life where I was drowning in diapers, bottles, sticky fingers, and if someone would have asked me, would you like to pursue a hobby in the middle of all that? I would have said, yes, sleep. Is sleep a hobby? I was exhausted. You are chauffeur, cook, housekeeper, pet guardian, accountant, nurse. You throw in a full or part-time job, and Mother Teresa could not keep up with you. You don't get a moment to yourself. I remember even in the middle of the night, I didn't get a moment to myself. When I was expecting Casey, and he was due any day, our Levi was only 21 months old, and he was still waking up at night and wanted a passy. So my husband, type A, bought 6 passies, and he lined them up on his counter, his dresser in his bedroom. So when Levi would wake up, we'd nudge whoever's turn it was, you get up, got the little nightline room, you grab the next passy, put it in his mouth, and you go back to bed. Well, it was my turn. I'm not even sure if maybe I had 2 turns in a row. How do you know when you're sleeping when your spouse nudges you again, right? I'm assuming he had already taken a turn. He may not have. But I heaved my body out of my bed. I looked like a beached whale. And I waddled in there, and I went to get a passy. No passies. Where are the passies? Probably under his bed. So I got down on my knees. The kid is screaming. I tried to crawl under the bed. Well, I had an old crib that is now banned or recalled, where you pushed a little lever on the side and the top went up and down. Well, I crawled under that, and my behind hit the lever, and it came down. Now I'm trapped under the crib. And the only thing sticking out is my 2 legs. And Levi's right above me, crying. After a time, my husband comes in. He just flips on the light. He doesn't care about the night light, and he sees me under there. Levi's screaming. He goes, Sue, what are you doing under there? I was so mad. I said, dusting. What else am I doing under here? But I had found all 6 passies, right? Even in the middle of the night, you do not have a break. You need a break. You need a hiding place, a place of fun, of respite. And I'm going to tell you right now, social media is not a hiding place unless it refreshes you. And for most of us, it doesn't refresh you. A hiding place is not a hiding place unless it refreshes you. Your friend, social media may do that for you. For me, it just adds extra stress. Why? Because people aren't who they post to be. So you're looking at that and you go, my life doesn't look like that. Her kids are always smiling. They always look clean. It depresses me. What do you need? A hiding place does not need to be costly or complicated. The only non-negotiable, it must refresh you. It must refresh you, not your friend. It could be a bath. It could be walking through a bookstore from 9 to 10 every Saturday when your husband's home to watch your kids. It could be a coffee shop. For me, I watch my grandchildren most of the day Monday. And so once I take Sybil, let's see, who do I have that day? Sailor Rose and Taya Joe. When I take them home and meet their parents at their house, you know what my hiding place is? To reward myself for making it through a day? I stop at the local Goodwill. I love Goodwill. I love roaming through Goodwill. And some people think, you're not, but that refreshes me. My friend would love to go and find the best coffee in town, and she thinks I'm crazy for going to Goodwill. I love walking through there. There's something about it. It refreshes me. What refreshes you? When, again, it doesn't have to be complicated or costly. When our children were little, we didn't have 2 dimes to rub together to get a sitter. And I would need a hiding place many, many times during the day. A lot of times you can't wait for that hiding place, right? You're about ready to lose it. And so I would walk into my master bedroom, I'd lock the door. I'd walk into my master closet, I'd lock the door. I don't know why, no one was in there, but it just made me feel better that I was safe in there. And then I'd reach up and move some old purses. And right up there on the shelf, I kept a 1-pound bag of M&Ms. And I sat there on the floor and ate them. That was my respite. 5 minutes that I could what? Maybe diffuse some emotion like we talked about. Maybe come out with my emotions more intact to handle something. Or maybe just to survive the day. And I told that idea once in a crowd, and a woman came up to me later and she goes, well, where were your children? I mean, you were in your closet. Were they safe? I said, I knew exactly where my children were. They were in a 3-foot square right outside my master bedroom door going, Mommy, Mommy, where are you? And their fingers are coming under the door. I said, they were safer than they've ever been. They're right there. But give yourself a break. Maybe for you, many years, when I couldn't walk away, I lit a candle, turned on some music. My teen sons were so used to that one time Levi came in from track practice, and I was just worked up, and he said, Mom, turn on Kenny G and light a candle, right? He knew what it just, whoosh, right? That's simple. 2 things, candle and some music that relaxes you. And sometimes you need a longer respite. When we had teens, it was just hard. It was hard. 3 teens and a junior higher. And on a Tuesday night, my husband came home and he said, you need a break. I'm going to take off a couple hours early Friday. When I get home, I want your bag ready, and I want you just to go to the local hotel, 20 minutes away. He said, I don't want you to come back till Saturday when it's time to check out at 12. Friday, he pulled in the drive. I was standing there with my bag. I just said, bye, hopped in my van, and off I went. He's like, okay, there she goes. It was glorious. I went through Panera's drive-thru, and I got all my favorite food. Then I got a king-size bed, and I sat on the bed, and I lined up all the food around me. And I enjoyed it. Nobody said, can I have a bite? Nobody. It was all mine. I rented a chick flick. At our house with all our boys, we watched Saving Private Ryan, Black Hawk Down. I mean, it was just me, and I slept in that big king bed. And I'm just like, oh. And I slept in the next morning. And when I went home, I was ready. I was ready to go back to my family. But it was the respite I needed to be the mom I need to be. My friend Veronica She raised 3 boys about the same time I was raising my boys. And I remember asking her once, what do you do? She's a single mom. What do you do working full time? How do you find respite? And she said 3 times a week since the boys went to daycare, 3 times a week, I've arranged with the daycare, I pick them up a half hour later. And if it's in the winter, I go to the same park, winter or summer. I pull into a park and I keep a book in my glove compartment. And if it's the summer, I go sit on a bench and I read. If it's in the winter, I sit in my car. She said, that's my hour and a half a week to myself. And she said, it's worth that extra half hour to pay the daycare. And I look forward to that. She got creative, didn't she, about finding a hiding place. Now, I want to encourage you and really stress this. A hiding place usually are not a hobby or another commitment. Be careful. Be careful your hiding place does not become a commitment. There's a difference between committing to meet your friend at Zumba every Saturday and a hiding place. Because a commitment is a commitment. And if you don't go to Zumba, what do you feel? Guilty. No, that's not a hiding place. You just let her down and you feel so bad. That's a commitment. There's a difference. Is it a hiding place or is it a commitment? And if your hobby feels more like a commitment, that's not a hiding place. And I want you to ask for help. Ask for help. My husband and I, even now we're helping raise grandkids, I still ask him for help. When we were raising our sons, and I remember a particular night, it was the evening, I was so exhausted, and my husband was in his lazy boy. Now, don't judge him for this. It was just the scene that I'm going to paint. And his feet were up, and he had the clicker, and he was watching ESPN. And I'm coming through in the hall behind, and I'm holding a laundry basket, dragging a toddler on my ankle, right? And he goes, hey, do you need any help? As a woman, what are we going to say? No. If you can't see it, like really? Well, he could tell that getting up out of the lazy boy was not, he should have, and he didn't, because it was the passive-aggressive stomp I am now doing through the house. So he meets me in the utility room, and he's a man of few words, like I said. So this was pretty significant. He took me by the shoulders and he said, Sue, I want to be your hero. I want to be the guy that rescues you, but you won't let me. You won't let me. He said, what do you need from me? Well, 156 things. No. I thought, what is my top stressor? Because your top stressor today, it will be different maybe in a week or 2 weeks. It does change. You need to be aware of it. So my top stressor then was bedtime. I'm just done at bedtime. I mean, I feel like I grow hair and fangs and turn into a werewolf at 7 o'clock. So I said, Kurt, would you just put the kids to bed? He got that. So that night, I went and took a nice warm bubble bath, and he put the kids to bed. It was quite interesting. The next morning, I'm in the kitchen, and the 3 boys come bounding down the steps, and they all had their pajamas on backwards. Now, as a woman, we're tendency to say, oh, honey, you need to put the pajamas on right. But the Spirit said, tape up your mouth and say nothing. Because if you lovingly offer a suggestion, he's going to see it as criticism, and as a man, he's going to think, why do I even bother? I'll never meet her standards. So I said nothing. And the 3rd night, the boys came on, and they were on right. I mean, maybe one of them said, this is choking me, right? But he learned, and I didn't need to tell him. Whatever your husband's helping you with, whether it's helping with the dishes, yeah, there might be crumbs on the counter. Just thank him and wipe up the crumbs later. And he will feel like your hero and want to help more. And I don't want to end this section on balance without sharing a tip. I want you to explore your triggers. When we have a trigger or lose it and get frustrated, we certainly don't want to journal it, right? But I want you to write down the what and the who next time it happens, okay? Because you're going to forget. So Monday morning, maybe something happens, and you go, I am very frustrated right now. What is happening right now in your home? Is it because the kids aren't getting out the door? Are they still brushing their teeth? Is it because you're thinking about supper already? And just write it on a piece of paper. Don't get fancy, just write it. Track that for a couple days. Because now you know what you need to work on. It's hard to say, oh, I'm just frustrated all the time. You can't work on that trigger. Frustration is a huge umbrella. So I'm going to give you an example. I seen a pattern. I remember one day I was walking through the living room and I stepped on Cheerios. No, it were Lucky Charms because they stuck to the bottom of my foot. So then I thought, oh, I haven't swept the house in like a week. And then I went and there was a pile of laundry behind my son's door, and I just thought I'd done all the laundry. I lost it. So then I went and wrote down 2 things that are happening, right? So now I'm equipped with the knowledge to make change. So laundry for a while, and don't roll your eyes, for a while, once a week I went to the local laundromat. I had 8 machines going. Put it all in when the boys were at school, put it all in the dryer, had it folded, and was back home in just 3 hours. Done. See what I'm tracking with you? I made a change. Did I do the laundry like that forever? No, probably 3 or 4 months. But it got the bulk of the laundry done, so the rest of the week, it was just whatever was needed the next day or emergency things. And the sticky, what we did about that is we didn't have 2 dimes to rub together, but my husband said, this is too much for you. He was a pastor at the time. We were entertaining all the time. So we hired the girl down the street. She wasn't a professional housekeeper, but we had her come 2 hours one afternoon every week, and she swept the whole upstairs and downstairs and wiped counters and just wiped out the bathrooms. Game changer, right? Because then I knew for whatever we paid her, which was minimal compared to a professional housekeeper, I knew I had clean floors. Look at your trigger. If your trigger is 5:30 at night, I call between school and going to bed the piranha hours, okay? 5:30 at night, they're crying, they're hungry, and your husband is now late again for supper. Or he calls and he's stuck in traffic. We had a thing. We eat at 5:30. Kurt, we want you here. If you're not, we eat at 5:30. No dealing with the frustration and the crying and waiting dinner. He wants to be with us. It's not like he's saying, I'm going to sit in the drive and wait till they eat. He wants to be there, but if he can't, that's a stressor that doesn't have to happen anymore. Another thing we did for a long time is we switched it. During football and track and all that, we hardly could get supper in. Because from 3:30 to 7 or 8, I'm running kids. This goes to this practice, this goes to this practice. We lived out of a cooler. I'd pack it around 2, and we'd have peanut butter and jelly or whatever. So for that length of time, when we had practice, we got up and had family breakfast 3 mornings a week. Did the kids have to get up at 6? Yes, they did. We didn't ask. We said, we need family time. You're getting up a half hour earlier, 3 mornings a week. We're having breakfast with Dad. There you go. You've just incorporated family time, making some tweaks, and you can always go back to supper. Are you tracking with me? How you have to look and say, what is it? And it's going to be different for you than me. Think outside the box. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, so we already said a confident mom, and she's controlled, confident, and she's balanced. What time do I have to be done with this? 11 what? 11:55. Okay. I like to call her velvet over steel. Does this sound familiar? You walk into a room littered with toys, or you walk into your junior hires room and it's a mess and there's pizza boxes under the floor, and you say, clean up this room, you have 10 minutes, and you walk away. Now, either you forgot you gave the instruction and you're over there looking at a magazine or a recipe book or on your phone, and neither one of you remembered you just gave an instruction, right? Or you say, clean up this in 10 minutes. Your child's going to go, she doesn't mean it. Doesn't mean it. And then they wait, and you come back and you go, I said clean up this. Doesn't mean it yet. And then finally your voice reaches that octave, and they go, now she means it. So you've trained them very well. First time you say it, don't really mean it. So I'm going to introduce to you the timer. Simple kitchen timer. Buy 3 because your children will hide them. I often get the question, when do you introduce the timer? Depending on your child's maturity, between 2 and 3, and when do you end the timer? If you're still having to if you even set an alarm for your high schooler and they're not getting up, they're not mature enough and they need a timer. You're never too old. You know your kids, you know your grandkids. So this is how it looked for years. I would walk in and I'd set the timer and I'd say, you guys have 10 minutes to clean up this living room. Now the first couple times you do it, it works. The first couple times you do it, you're gonna have to walk them through. So I'm gonna give you an example. Older kids, you can instruct them. You go, this is what I want done in 10 minutes. Little ones, Casey, he was 3. I walked in and I said, we have 10 minutes to pick up the living room. We started picking it up, but I went slowly on purpose and the timer went off. So every kid, and I don't care what age and stage, they want expectations, clear expectations and clear consequences. Nobody likes to be broadsided by something they weren't expecting. So if you expect that living room to be picked up in 10 minutes, that's the expectation, right? The consequences is, at that age, they had to sit in a corner for 5 minutes, okay? So I helped Casey. We didn't get it done. The timer went off. I said, oh, Casey, now we have to go sit in the corner. I walked him down to the corner. We sat in the corner. I set the timer. The timer went off. I said, okay, you ready to try again? We went back and tried it again, okay? And then that time we were successful. Walk them through it, especially little ones, so they know what to expect. Just don't say, oh, I'm setting the timer. Good luck with that. By the 3rd day, it was hilarious. I even wrote it down in his baby book. The timer went off and he wasn't done. He goes, I know, I'll be in the corner, right? They get it. So with your older kids, maybe you go in there and you say, I'm going to use nighttime as an example. You go, hey kids, nighttime was never a problem at our house. Okay kids, 20 minutes. That's all we said. Timer's going. The little ones knew, again, age appropriate, and they can always do more than you think they can. They knew, brush your teeth, get the stool, get on it, brush your teeth, get your pajamas on, and you be in bed for us to come pray with you. Older kids, it was a longer list. Lunch made by the back door. I mean, you get it. But you need to be in your bed, ready for prayers. When that timer went off and we went in their room and something wasn't done, we go, did you get your lunch made? A teenager? No, I didn't. Sorry, well, I'll go do it right now. No, timer's done. So again, expectation is in 20 minutes, you got to have all that done in bed. The consequence, you go to bed 15 minutes earlier tomorrow night. And the next night, you go to bed another 15 minutes early. Soon they'll be going to bed right after supper. It's really nice, actually. You keep moving it up. But don't discourage the child. If your 13-year-old on day 3 that's now going to bed at 7 o'clock gets it and he's in bed, take him right back to the original time. Don't go back up, because it just depresses the kids. Go back to the original. That works marvelous. But you know your child. What is your expectation? And your consequence might be different. Okay? Maybe you're so struggling, your consequence is you take away their cell phone. It works. They go, well, how will I call you? Ask your friend. They all have them. Ask them to borrow their cell phone, right? You have to make it mean something to your child. Maybe they don't care. They like to go into their room and go to bed 15 minutes early. Then that's not a consequence for them. Morning routine, same thing. Kids up, timer set. You know your expectation, when they need to be in the kitchen. And if they didn't make it to the kitchen, by the time the alarm got off, the older kids missed afternoon snack, or the younger kids, afternoon snack, and our older kids, they got an extra chore after school. I'm just giving you my ideas, okay? I just want you to think about that. Use the timer and use it where needed, and then you're not like a parrot. Pick up your toys, clean up your room. I want to give you a couple more. I'm going to talk about a little bit about how many of you have teens or kids 7 and over? Anyone 7 and over, children, young adults? Okay. I'm going to give you, this worked marvelous, and I'd be glad to go. There's a lot more in the book, but I want to go over this as much as possible today. Okay, there was a day I was lugging in groceries. I had worked all day. It's now 3:30. Worked at the hospital. I'm coming in. I'm lugging groceries in. The dog is sitting there in the garage looking forlornly, at his bowl. Obviously, he wasn't fed. I step in the back door, about trip over 3 pairs of shoes. I get to the kitchen, I put my stuff down, and there is all the wrappers from snack from after school and a couple cups in the sink, which I had left clean that morning. I lost it, absolutely lost it. Because Mom, you are running a home, not a hotel. And by this time, your kids should be participating. You should just be the manager. You shouldn't be doing all that. Your kids you should be the manager and they'd be doing the work. So I went out, you probably buy them if you don't have them, Walmart has them. I got 4 glass jars, just like this. And no, I got 5, one for me. and I lined them up, 5 glass jars, right inside the cupboard. In front of it, I put Seth, Levi, Casey, Brock, Mom. And then I went, and hear me out here, I got 10 $1 bills, or 40 ones, 10, 10, 10, 10, and put it in front of their jars. You know your kid. Maybe this is not enough monetarily to get them encouraged. If they're little ones, maybe you do quarters and dimes. And then I had my jar. Then we made a chore chart, and we put it on the wall. And you think, oh, chore charts, so 1980s. If your kids aren't getting their chores done, it's 2021. Okay, it works. So after school, 3:30, Seth, Levi, Casey, Brock. Seth, you are to empty the dishwasher, sweep the living room, and take the trash to the end of the road, okay? And the next one, what they needed to do. And all has input letters, all has to be done by 4:30. Maybe yours is all done by 6 o'clock, and this is what happened. I walked into the house, 4:30. I go, Seth, did you da-da-da-da-da? Oh, no, I forgot the dishwasher. Sorry. Any of you other boys want to empty the dishwasher? Levi, I will. Levi made $2 off of Seth. You go over, you take the $2, and you shove it in Levi's jar. They hate to pay their sibling. Let's say the boys, all of them hate emptying the dishwasher. No one wants to. Mom will do it, and I'm double. My time is very important. I take $4 off of Seth and put it in my jar. It is incredible how chores will get done. There's no, it's 4:20, it's 4:25. You don't say anything. And at 4:30, and at the end of the week, whatever's in front of there, they get to have. Now, you're not going to go through $40 a week because a lot of it's going to be in your jar, okay? And you just kind of recycle it again. If you have a child that, and we had one of these, that they just stick that big toe over the line in everything, flip this. And whenever they do something, they get money in the jar. Are you tracking with me? Or they will get very discouraged. And like Levi owed me $15 into the next week. And you get so discouraged, they go, forget it. Okay? You got to keep them motivated, but also not discouraged. So flip that around, and when they do something, they get money. This is huge. You can use this for so many different things. And it changes as the kids get older. For a while, we used it as a banned word jar. Levi went through, and I know I pick on him, but he was a tough kid. He went through a time when they were using words that they shouldn't use. Okay, your home should be the safest place on the planet. It should be. And if your siblings are calling the other one bubble butt, that's not okay. It is rough out there. Planet Earth is hard to live on, and your home should be a haven. We do not cut anybody down in our home. We do not tell them they're stupid. So when you use derogatory words toward other members of the family, you paid the jar. And if it's to a kid, you paid that sibling. Because you have a safe place, keep it that way. It can be the attitude jar. Maybe get several sets of jars. Think outside the box. If you have a daughter and she's got an attitude about everything, I'm going to encourage you on that jar. You could literally say, acknowledge your feeling. Say, you know what, Sophie, I know you do not want to go to church today. I get that, but we are. And you got 3 to 4 minutes that we're going to let you work through this feeling. And then if you don't fake it till you make it at that point, you are wasting our whole family's time, and you're going to pay the jar. You following me? You're acknowledging the feeling, but then your life has to move on. Because you're raising somebody's future spouse, neighbor, friend, employee, employer. And a woman walked up and says, well, you're just bribing your children. I said, my husband gets bribed every day to show up for work. It's called a paycheck, right? They are going to have expectations and consequences the rest of their life. If they don't do their jobs at work, their pay will be docked or they'll be fired. So always keep that in mind. I am raising a future adult. Remember that aha moment that I had with Casey that I started with? Well, Casey got married 6 years ago. And it was time for the mother-son dance. I can't dance. I even took dance lessons, and the guy said, you just need to go home and do the junior high shuffle. It was that bad. So there was 200 people surrounding the dance floor, and I was very nervous, and he knew that. And he came and he took my hand, And we're out at the dance floor doing the junior high shuffle. And I looked in that 6-foot athlete, blue-eyed guy, and I said, Casey, I'm so sorry. Got real emotional. I said, I'm so sorry. I was not the mom you needed me to be. And he looked at me and he said, Mom, you were best mom. You were the best mom a boy could ever have. See, I was the imperfect best mom. And you are the best mom for your child. You are the best mom, and every day, maybe not yet, but every day you're going to get closer to being that confident, controlled, velvet over steel mom who is organized, balanced, and consistent, but you are going to be an imperfect mom or grandma till you reach eternity. Thank you.